Hey everybody, welcome back. It's your host, Christopher Renne. This is the Chris Renne Show, and we're starting off the new year with episode 31. I plan on doing 52 shows this year, one for each week of the year, and maybe a couple more for you. Let's really get this thing rolling. Hopefully all my listeners had a great break like I did from school. I took some time off from doing the show just to relax a little bit. Have no stress, no pressures. I know I had a good break. I visited my madre and brother in Montana. Very cold. It was fun. Ate a lot of good food. Had some home-cooked meals. Very much needed. Then I proceeded to go to California, which was a lot of fun. I turned 22 years old, went out with my friends, became a menace to society. It was all good though, had a lot of fun. California is very warm. It was good seeing my dad and my sisters and my other brother and my other aunts and cousins, to see the whole family. When I was being a menace to society, I did suffer and sustain a very, very serious injury. After I dunked a basketball on a lowered hoop, I took off and ran. And as I was running to the grass, I stepped on one of the piping system things, the little green things that are in the grass, and my ankle rolled real good. Besides that, my break was pretty uneventful. I didn't do too much. Hung out a lot. I didn't go to Disneyland or like Universal Studios or anything fun. Saw my friends. It was the weather in California wasn't the best California weather, but it wasn't like too cold or too hot. Let's get rolling. So the NFL playoffs, they are well underway. I'm going to be talking about the playoffs, my take on the college football playoff. I'll do a way too early Final Four for next football season. Then I'll hit on some NBA stories because I think this show is going to lean a little NBA heavy once football season ends. There'll be some draft talk, not as much this year because I'm a Browns fan, and, well, the Browns are already perfect the way they are, so there's that. The NBA story's pretty intriguing. It's been a pretty intriguing year. A lot of parity in the NBA right now, but I think we all still know who the favorites are. There's a race for Zion. Harden's disgusting. I think the Rookie of the Year's already been decided. And obviously the big one, the Lakers and LeBron James. Moving forward, I will probably be doing the current events section once again, as well as trying to get some more fan topics in to see what people want to engage with and want to hear me talk about. And like I said, it could be anything, because during the spring and summer, I go from having a football-heavy show to just having a show. I've got about 3-4 more weeks of having a football show, and then it's all over. And we'll find out some stuff to do. We'll play some games. It's all right. Be looking for pints on Thursday. Our new schedules came out for school, so we got to figure out a good time for us to record that. It'll still be a good show to listen to on the weekends or during the week. My show is going to be weekly as usual. Pints will be weekly as usual. We're going to try to add some more flair to some of these shows, have a little bit of fun with them. Start looking for some guest spots maybe. So if you're interested, hit the Twitter, hit my number if you have it. If not, the email is mbasementprod@gmail.com for business inquiries. All in all, let's get this thing rolling. I think last year I picked up a lot of momentum with the shows, and I think this year will be a good year to really take a big step forward, and I'm very excited for it. I did not do a New Year's resolution. I read an article about how New Year's resolutions fail, and rather than setting a full year-long resolution, you should set little goals along the way, so that's what we're going to do. I don't really have any plans or goals set in stone, but I do want to do a show every week, and I think that goal is very possible. I do want to improve upon my shows every week, which I think is also a very possible goal. and I do want to start marketing my show a little bit more professionally, which is also a very easy goal to do, and I want to do all that stuff as well with pints. I want to add a couple shows to the gang. I don't think I'll be on the next couple I add, but I'm looking for some talent to acquire, so if you're interested in that, you know where to find me, at Chris_Renne on Twitter, at ChrisRenne5 on Instagram, at MBasementProd on Instagram, and MBasementProd on Twitter. All in all, we're rolling. Bruce Arians is about to be the head coach of the Buccaneers, so good for him. So let's get into it. The NFL playoffs. I don't know about you, but I watched all 4 of the games. One of the games I had to watch on an airplane, and the other I watched at an airport. The first 2 on Sunday, I watched both of them. They were very fun to watch. Threw down some Modelo's food, as well as some Coors Lights. I was getting hydrated quite the time. My brother was asleep by early, so that's good. That was funny stuff. It was all a good time with the fam. And so I'll touch on the games I paid more attention to first. So the game I watched most closely was the Cowboys and Seahawks. And as a team, the Cowboys have been one of the hotter teams in football in one of the uglier ways you can be. They've won a lot of close games. They haven't really dominated, and their defense has won most of the games for them. The emergence of Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith as the top linebacking duo in the NFL has been insane. The offensive line was supposed to be their strongest link, but turned out it was a little bit weaker once they lost their center. So Zeke and the squad got off to a little bit of a slow start, but they turned it around and really started playing an old school style of football, which is just credit to Jason Garrett for knowing his personnel, knowing his players, and credit to their management on making that trade for Amari Cooper, because that sort of opened up their offense. And then with the emergence of Michael Gallup and Cole Beasley having another good year in the slot, he gets a lot better when you have better talent around him. Zeke has been a workhorse. Rod Smith has been a really good second down situational back. 2 Buckeyes in the backfield. It's been great. The Cowboys secondary has been on fire. And, going into this game, the Cowboys and Seahawks played a very similar style. But I think outside, Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett on the Seahawks are very good players. But Doug Baldwin had struggled with injuries most of the year. Tyler Lockett had an unbelievable game against the Cowboys. He did everything he could. Russell Wilson was by far the best quarterback on that field, and Dak wasn't even really close. But Dak did come up huge and clutch when they needed him to. And I think that's something Dak has a knack for. And I think it'll come up big in the coming rounds. I'll be talking about the divisional rounds after I break down some of these wild card situations and scenarios. The Seahawks very much struggled to establish a run game. They couldn't really get anything going with Carson. They couldn't really get anything going with Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny had their longest run of the day. It was like a 19-yarder. It was all on Russell Wilson's shoulders. And as good as Russell Wilson is, and I think he really showed how good he really can be with some of the throws he made in that second half. Once Janikowski got hurt, it really put the Seahawks in an armbar because they really couldn't escape that, because on every 4th down inside the 20, instead of getting 3 points, they had to go for it. And that was bad. That was probably the only negative that really came with kicking that field goal at the end of the half. He went down hard. But the Cowboys moved on. The Cowboys played the style of play better. Dak did what he needed to, and Zeke played like an animal. Absolutely ever. Russell, the muscle came up a little short, and his magic ran out after having one of the best seasons I've seen. One of the most underrated best seasons I've seen from a quarterback throughout the year. So moving forward, the next game I watched closely because I wasn't traveling that day was the Colts at Texans games. The one takeaway I really did have was that first half against that really ferocious pass rush and a pretty solid secondary. That T.Y. Hilton ate up once again in NRG Stadium. He's averaging 151 yards there, which is absurd to average in one place. He called it his second home, and Jonathan Joseph called him a clown. T.Y. Hilton showed up in a clown mask and did exactly what he said he was going to do, which was savage. But that wouldn't have happened without Mr. Andrew Luck putting on an absolute quarterbacking clinic. At the line of scrimmage, throws downfield, throws intermediately, out routes, slants, anything that you can throw, he threw it perfectly well. And then on the opposite side, you see Deshaun Watson get into this high-pressure NFL playoff game at home, everything on his shoulders, something he's usually been great for, come up short, make a lot of mistakes. But he gave his team a chance, and he kept them close enough and almost made some plays to make it a real game. I think the Colts struggled closing them out. But I think the Colts' defense is so much improved, and their O-line is so much improved that if you give Andrew Luck any sort of lead, they're going to be able to hold off and hold the team they play off next week. Now, they have the Chiefs next week, which that's going to be a very tough game in Kansas City, in Arrowhead, with those fans bumping and that energy Mahomes is giving that city. But I think of all the quarterbacks who are going to be calm enough and cool enough and collected enough, one's playing this week against Patrick Mahomes, and the other one's in New England, and they both wear 12. And I think those are the only two quarterbacks that are going to be able to beat that fiery Kansas City team. Moving forward, because I think that game was pretty straightforward, I think it shows how important having the better quarterback is in the NFL, especially come playoff time. As good as Deshaun Watson is, he still has some growing pains to fight through, a lot with intermediate accuracy and driving the ball downfield at times. He gets lazy with his footwork and mechanics, and that ends up leading to mistakes and interceptions and bad throws in crucial situations. And as much as he's an athlete and as much as some of these plays were made especially because of him, there's just as many that weren't made because of him. So I'll talk about the Chargers-Ravens game next. I think the Chargers use 7 defensive backs almost every single play to counteract the speed of Lamar Jackson. It was very interesting. I read an article on The Athletic about it. They ran those plays the most this season, with a total of 5% of their defensive plays being that situation, and I think the number was about 70% of their plays against the Ravens were with 7 defensive backs on the field to counteract that speed. In the NFL, defensive backs are a lot bigger, especially safeties. So most of the time when a lot of people think of defensive backs, they think of corners, small, 185 pounds, but there's some safeties that play in the NFL now that are like 215, 220 and move like, I don't know, they move extremely well. They're very fast, they're very gifted, and they're very strong and physical. There's not much you can do against the Chargers. You can't make mistakes, and that's what Lamar Jackson did in the first half. He made quite a few mistakes. He turned the ball over quite a bit, and I think you still got to give a lot of credit to the Chargers for it. I give John Harbaugh a lot of credit for sticking with his guy. I give Joe Flacco a lot of credit for handling the situation as well as he did. I think Lamar played a great second half, and I think that shows the potential he really has. Will he ever meet the potential he has as a passer? That's still up for debate, but I think he proved that he can win in this league as a quarterback. I think he's going to have to become a more consistent pocket passer, because this type of toll on his body with the amount of carries he's getting per game, with the amount he's getting hit, won't last that long. And that's not because of his frame. That's not because of anything. It's just because the physicality and the lack of, and the amount you get hit without knowing you're getting hit as a quarterback is quite frequent. And they don't practice to get hit. I think the Chargers are a very hungry football team. I think they're driven by Phillip Rivers' fire and passion to finally get to that Super Bowl. and I really, really hope they overtake the Patriots and beat them. But I think they have made a lot of mental errors. Offensively, Tyrell Williams is going to have to be better. He dropped quite a few passes in the first half. That game could have got out of hand a lot earlier, but due to some crucial drops from some big players, they weren't able to take control and dominate the game. Another thing about it is Melvin Gordon's still great. The offensive line's unbelievable, but the biggest takeaway I have from the Chargers is how dominant that pass rush is when Joey Bosa is healthy. It's a dominant pass rush with Melvin Ingram and the gang, but you throw Joey Bosa, one of the premier pass rushers in the league, in that mix, it makes it very hard to scheme against them offensively. I think the Chargers have a roster that could very much go into Foxborough and play a similar game and beat the Patriots. I think Keenan Allen's a receiver that could pick apart that defense with his route running ability and his sure-handedness. But like I said, the other receivers on the Chargers are going to have to come up big, and Melvin Gordon's going to have to control the tempo of this next football game, like he did against the Ravens. Yeah, that was a good one. It was a little boring, but it was a good game. A lot of Chargers fans I know because I'm from California, obviously. But yeah, no. I mean, it was cool. It was a good game. So the last one, Bears-Eagles, one of the most boring football games I watched till about the last 5 minutes of it. There was a good portion of the game where each team would just make it to the other team's 40 and then punt it. And then Cody Parkey scores 9 points and misses the game-winning field goal, but he's actually the only reason the Bears are in that game, really. I mean, at the end of the day, the Bears went for 2 to go up 3 points, so you can't blame them for that. The ball got tipped. I didn't like the way a lot of these analysts were treating the kicker, Cody Parkey, because at the end of the day, I don't know how many people know how hard it is to kick a football, but it's a skill that not a lot of people have. And I know for a fact a lot of the people tweeting death threats to the kicker, Cody Parkey, have never taken a snap of meaningful football in their life. So with all that being said, Cody Parkey, tough. Absolutely. You never want to lose on a field goal. But with my opinion, kickers are great, and kickers score you a lot of points. But if, as a coach and as a team, you let the game come down to one of these smaller percentage things in life, a field goal. How often do you kick field goals in a game? 4 or 5 times, I'd say. Most kickers in the NFL kick 85 to 90%. So that means they miss 1 out of 10 of those bad boys. You add pressure to that, it probably gets moved down to like 50%. He nailed the first one. He got iced. It happens. The second one got blocked. The Bears line got eaten alive. He missed the kick. It happens. It's life, man. It's just a sport. If you want someone to die because they ruined your year by not making it to the Super Bowl when the team itself wasn't even supposed to make the playoffs or win the division, then I think you need to reevaluate some things in yourself and your expectations for people. If you've never kicked a football in a game, I don't think you have the right to talk about a kicker. If you've never played in a meaningful football game, you obviously don't understand what he's going through. And if you use the excuse that he's a professional, then shut up, because you obviously aren't either. Seeing guys like Rex Ryan talk about it, there's a 100% reason why Rex Ryan's not getting interviewed for any head coaching jobs right now. And it's because he's a piece of shit. He's a player's coach, apparently, but I think he's really worn down a lot of people in the league, and I think his raw attitude has really rubbed a lot of players the wrong way, and I think you're seeing more and more coaches are becoming more personable with players, more player-friendly. It's not this my way or the highway attitude. You look at Sean McVay, it's super fun. You look at Matt Nagy, it's super fun. You look at Greg Williams. He had a lot of fun with the Browns, man. Freddie Kitchens, that Browns coaching staff, they just had fun with their jobs and were so great with the players. There should never be a lack of trust. There should never be that. Pete Carroll's a raw friend player guy. Not just a raw guy. He's a player friend guy. He very much cares that his players are happy. Andy Reid's been that way a long time. The only person who's still getting away with the my way or highway attitude, I'd say, is Bill Belichick. I think a lot of coaches have had to pivot. I think a lot of coaches have had to change the way they are to relate to these younger players. To make these younger players, it's a different type of motivational style. When you have guys who are making money and getting guaranteed so much money, it's hard to manage the egos. And I think having that attitude is poor. And the way he said, it's your one job, we got there. Well, if every other player on the team did their job, it should have never came down to a game-winning kick. And if you let your team leave it up to a kicker, you deserve to lose just as much as you deserve to win. Anyways, congrats to the Eagles. You're probably going to get the shit stomped out of you next week, but that's all good. I've been proven wrong before. This, of all the games to pick, that was probably the wildcard game I was least sure of. Then it was probably, I knew the Colts were going to win. I thought the Seahawks were going to win, but I knew it was going to be a very close football game. And then the Bears-Eagles, I really had no idea how that game was going to go. But moving on to the divisional round. Okay, so Chargers versus Patriots. I touched on this a little bit. Phillip Rivers, an all-time great. Not much winning, though, in big moments. The last time he played Tom Brady, he was playing on a torn ACL and took every ounce of Tom Brady he could handle. Tom Brady ended up winning, and I'm pretty sure they went on to win a Super Bowl. That hurt a lot. The Patriots were very hot the last couple weeks. I think the bye week's going to hurt them a little bit. I think they're going to come out a little, not complacent. I know Tom Brady's a very well-prepared guy, but I think it's more the other players I'm worried about more so than Tom Brady. I think there's a lot of players who would have rather kept playing just to keep that rhythm and momentum going, but they didn't have to, and now they're rolling into a buzzsaw that is the San Diego Chargers. I think this is the game to watch for this weekend. I think I'm going to pick the Chargers with the upset in quotes, even though they have a better record than the Patriots. They are. I think they're the better team, and going into Foxborough, being a team from Los Angeles or San Diego, Los Angeles now, obviously, but being a team from the West Coast and going to the East Coast is always a challenge. Being a team that plays in warm weather almost year-round and going east is always northeast is always a challenge. So they're facing a lot of obstacles, but they're built like a team that could play in any weather. They can dink and dunk. They can throw it deep. They play a very physical brand of defense, even though their linebacking core has been a little decimated due to injuries. They run the ball very effectively with Eckler and Gordon, and even their third back, I can never remember his name, but I do think the Chargers have the better team, but I do think the Patriots still have that it factor that you just can't count out. They're a very unpredictable team. They could either win the Super Bowl or they could get bounced this round. I think those are really the only two reasonable options. This has probably been the hardest Patriots team to judge, but at the same time, they're the Patriots. They have the best coach in NFL history, one of the, if not best quarterbacks in NFL history, and they're playing a team that hasn't won much. So, you never know. Moving on, we'll stay in the AFC for the AFC Divisional Round. The Chiefs play the Colts at Arrowhead Stadium. I do think the Chiefs are going to win, but I think it's going to be a battle and a shootout. I think Mahomes is going to come up big. I think he's going to turn the ball over quite a few times. And I think that's why it's going to be such a close game. But I think this is a year Andy Reid really has his best opportunity to win the Super Bowl. Because next year, everyone's going to have a full year of film on Mahomes. And I don't know if Mahomes is going to be able to keep up this rate he's been on. I think he's going to have a major sophomore slump as a starter. I know he's technically in his sophomore season now, but it's his first year as a starter. His second year as a starter, I think there will be a sophomore slump coming. I think this is a very good Colts team. You heard me discuss them earlier. I think Andrew Luck's a better quarterback. I know Mahomes has all the talent and all these gaudy stats, but I just know Andrew Luck is just so good at so many things at the line of scrimmage, deep, intermediate, ad-libbing. He can do it all. He's never going to make the wrong play. He's been staying extremely healthy this year, and once his arm got healthy and he got comfortable, he probably turned it on and became a top 3 quarterback in the NFL again. I'm still taking the Chiefs, though, at home. I just think going into Arrowhead is going to be too tough. It's good their win wasn't too emotional, so they keep their head on straight. But I do think it's going to be too much. Cowboys-Rams, this is the battle of different styles for sure. The Cowboys play a defensive time of possession style game, and the Rams play no defense and try to score a lot of points. The Rams' defense has progressively gotten worse, and Aaron Donald's progressively gotten better, which is weird. But the defensive backs are so bad for the Rams, it's actually kind of hard to watch. They play football like a flag football team, and it works very well with these new rules that help passing. I think of all the teams that can match the Rams offensively, it's the Cowboys defensively. I think their linebacking core is a matchup for Gurley to watch. I think Jalen Smith's arguably the best athlete in the league, and that's the type of player you need when you're going to – hold on, I lost my train of thought. When you're going to play Todd Gurley. I do think the Rams are going to win because it's in Los Angeles. I think the home team is going to have a pretty good advantage in these rounds. I'm picking the Saints. The Saints are my Super Bowl pick, so obviously I'm going to pick the Saints over the Eagles. I don't think the Eagles are very good. You can see their anemic-looking offense. I think their defense played exceptional against the Bears, but so do a lot of teams' defenses. So Saints-Eagles, easy for me. Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Michael Thomas, the whole gang. Ted Ginn Jr. is healthy, so you've got that explosive player added to the mix. Eli Apple, Marshawn Lattimore, Von Bell, the secondary with Williams. They're very good. Their defensive line anchored by Cameron Jordan. They're just a better team than the Eagles. I think they're a more complete team than the Eagles, but you can never count out Doug Peterson because that guy's a very creative coach, and he can find ways to win, as he proved last year, and he proved in that wild card game against the Bears. The Bears. Sorry, Bears fans, that was tough. It was funny at the airport, though, because half the people were Eagles fans, half the people were Bears fans, and then the other half was just casual fans. So 3 halves make a whole, and I was part of the ones just kind of enjoying watching everybody gather and watch the game. It was kind of really cool. All right, so moving on, I told you I'd touch on the college football playoff. I hated it. Watching that Notre Dame game against Clemson was one of the worst experiences of my life. Then you follow that up with Alabama completely dominating Oklahoma for almost 4 quarters. It was so bad. I know. I'm going to come off as biased here. But I think there was 3 teams that could have played better games than that. I think UCF would have put up a better fight than Notre Dame did against Clemson. I think they would have scored more points. I think there's more creativity in Central Florida. I think Notre Dame got completely outmatched in every single way. They were too slow. There's no speed at Notre Dame. Ohio State, they have the athletes. I think they could have competed against Clemson and Alabama. I think if they played Oklahoma this year, Ohio State would have torched that defense and probably put up 69 points. I think they would absolutely mop the floor with Notre Dame, and I think the committee is so bad at what they do. The 5th team, I think, of all the teams that surprised me, I think Texas, with Tom Herman's creativity, could have done pretty well in the playoff. Hindsight's 2020, obviously. I think they're a team to watch this year, and it's a hot take, obviously. But I think it's also a reason why we need an 8-team playoff. Georgia sucks. Alabama sucks. Clemson's great. The SEC has established itself once again as quite the overrated conference. I know Bama's really good and could probably beat almost every team in the country, but they came up short again. Clemson was a surprise to me. I will say this. Congrats, Clemson. I'm happy you guys won it. I'm a big Dabo Swinney fan. I love his attitude, and I love the way he treats his players. I don't remember if you guys remember me saying it at the beginning of the football season, but the two quarterbacks that ended up playing in the championship, Tua Tagovailoa and Trevor Lawrence, were two guys who were in sort of quarterback battles at the beginning of the year through those first 4 games, and you weren't really 100% sure what was going to happen. So, with that being said, Clemson went with Trevor Lawrence. Kelly Bryant's now shipped off to Missouri and will be competing for the job to replace Drew Lock at the University of Missouri with that high-flying spread offense. And Jalen Hurts has a decision to make, as well as like Kelly Bryant did, and he's graduating and he can transfer somewhere and start somewhere because he's still a very talented quarterback. As you saw, he played in all 3 of those meaningful games. I was right, though. Especially on the Clemson side. Kelly Bryant was good, but you saw the ceiling Kelly Bryant had the year prior. Trevor Lawrence is the highest rated quarterback in recruiting history. There hasn't been more of a sure thing in recruiting than Trevor Lawrence. I didn't think he was going to start right away, but starting him made sense to me if he was even with Kelly Bryant, because now you have him for 2 more years as your starter. You know how good this guy is going to be? He's talented, as everyone saw in the national championship. He picked apart one of the best defenses in the country, but one of the weaker Bama defenses in recent memory. Clemson's front, I don't know where they came from. They had been pretty average all year long, but they absolutely dominated the line of Alabama. I didn't watch it all. I watched some bits and pieces. Trevor Lawrence he's just really good, man. I'm really excited to see how good he gets as a player. He's the same recruiting class as Justin Fields, so I'm going to hear a lot more comparisons about that when Ohio State gets going. Ohio State's got a quarterback competition, which leads me into the way too early Final Four for next year. So we're going to start my first blood bank guarantee. Ohio State will make the playoff in Ryan Day's first year. Looking at their schedule, it's the easiest schedule Ohio State's had in quite a bit. Oh, shoot, I messed it up. Let's see if they have it here. Oh, 2019, 2020, here we go. So we've got Florida Atlantic first. Then we have the University of Cincinnati. Then we go to Indiana in Bloomington, which is always a tougher game than it should be. Then we play Miami of Ohio, and we get into conference play. We do have a tough game against an up-and-coming Nebraska. And then it's Michigan State at home, Northwestern in Evanston, Wisconsin at home, Maryland at home, Rutgers in New Jersey, Penn State in Columbus, and then Michigan back-to-back to end it. So it's not as challenging as this year's schedule, which, as Bama's proven, as Clemson's proven, is if you're undefeated and win your conference, you're in for sure. I'd like to see them keep us out now. I think it's a very good chance for Ohio State to go 12-0 and play in the Big Ten Championship and win that too. Then I'm going to go with Clemson again, and Bama's 2-3 in this. I'm not putting the order. This is not an order. These are just 3 of the teams I think will be in the 4 next year. Yeah, so Clemson's Trevor Lawrence and Tua's returning. I think that's all I need to say about that. They recruit, they reload. These are the 3 best recruiting schools in the country. Consistently at the top, consistently in the top 5, consistently in the top 10. Ohio State's only signed 16 players, but they continue to get better. They just continue to recruit and reload. That's what I mean to say. That's my bad. I got an important Snapchat. Clemson, Bama, and then my 4th team, and this is going to surprise a lot of people, but watching their creativity offensively, watching the way they just physically dominated an SEC team that was a playoff favorite for most of the year. Texas, I think seeing the growth Tom Herman's had with not just the team but with the personnel, you can see it in that final game culminate, and they got 10 wins this year, which is huge. Oklahoma, don't know who's going to be playing quarterback. The rest of the Big 12 is playing catch up to Oklahoma right now, but I think Texas is a lot closer than a lot of people think. I think they're a sleeping giant, and I think they're about to wake up. Then 2 more SEC schools to close it out, Florida and Georgia. I think Florida's a very fast-rising team with Mullen as the coach. I think he recruits very well. He has tons of recruiting ties from his tenure with Urban Meyer at Florida. I think he's a Florida Gator through and through, and I think that'll help him with recruiting and stuff. Winning battles against Saban, winning battles against Orgeron, and winning battles against Pruitt, Kirby Smart. Those are huge, and keeping the best talent in state is always going to be huge. I think Miami losing Mark Richt to retirement is going to help them a lot too. I know this Manny Diaz guy is a Miami guy, but I don't know him as a recruiter. I don't think he's going to recruit like I know Mullen is capable of. Mullen got talent to Mississippi State, which is unheard of, and I think Florida's going to keep getting better. And then Georgia, they return quite a bit from back. I think both their running backs are returning. Their defense is going to reload as always. I think Kirby Smart really gets those guys going. I know that for a fact Texas dominated them. A lot of people say that bowl game didn't matter. That's a lie. They just got outperformed and outcoached. Did the coaches probably take a little bit less time preparing for that game? I'd say probably a little bit, but I don't think that's an excuse. That's my way too early 4, and then 2 added bonus teams. That'll probably be the last 2 out. I don't think the Pac-12 has really any real chance of getting a team in. I'm unsure about Oklahoma's future. Notre Dame, I think people don't want them in there after they saw what happened this year. But all in all, I think they need to change to 8 teams, which won't happen next year, and it won't happen the following year. So the chance we have seeing 8 teams will start coming together this year, and if it's a realistic possibility, we should see it by about 2022. That would be my prediction. So quick hitters. I'm going to quickly go through some major NBA stories just to get you guys caught up, if you don't know. So the Warriors have been struggling. Is it complacency, or is there some internal struggle for leadership and power? Kevin Durant's been a real bitch. Sorry for my language. He's talking about all this stuff. He's getting technicals. He's being soft. I think a lot of people do realize that Steph Curry is the reason that team's successful. I do think a lot of people realize that all those players are getting older. Their role players are getting older, and that's making them struggle. DeMarcus Cousins is coming back. We'll see how that plays in the locker room. That's already a little cracked and having some of the weight crushed down on it. I still think they're the favorite to win the title, but we'll talk about that more in the following weeks. Harden's disgusting. I hate the way he plays basketball. It's hard to watch. He takes a lot of threes and he shoots a lot of free throws. He's an extremely efficient player, but I don't think anybody enjoys watching the Rockets play. They play basketball ugly, not pretty. There's a major race for Zion. The Hawks, the Suns, the Cavs, Quite a few teams are in tanking mode still. I think the saddest of them is the Suns because they've missed on all their draft picks so far. I know DeAndre Ayton's been pretty good, but he's not going to change a culture. He's not that type of player. Devin Booker scores a lot of points, but he doesn't win a lot of games. Justin Jackson. He played at Kansas. Josh Jackson. He hasn't been anything that anyone thought he was going to be in the league. Then you get the Cavs. Well, hurt by injuries, a lot of age. Probably going to get rid of a lot of veteran players, get really young, and make our way downtown walking fast. Kevin Love's getting traded to a contender. Probably the Nuggets is what a lot of rumors are swirling. And then it's all Colin Sexton, Chetty Osman, Larry Nance. It's all the young guys, and hopefully they keep improving. That's all you can really ask for this time around. Hopefully the Cavs get Zion. If not, well, it's going to be a long time of sadness. Luka Doncic is going to be the Rookie of the Year this year. I've tweeted this every time he's had a good performance, but how can the Hawks feel about this? Trae Young can score. But as I said with Devin Booker, it only translates to so much winning. The Hawks are terrible. Trae Young's never going to be a plus defender. He's a decent shooter. He's a decent creator. He's got some moves, but he's not going to translate to NBA prominence. I think he'd be a solid player for a decent amount of time. I think if he was a little bit bigger and could defend a little better, I'd give more hope to him. But, yeah. Luka Doncic is the Rookie of the Year. He's by far the best rookie, and he is so advanced as a player with his dribble moves, and a lot of people have talked about his step back, and they're pretty fresh. The Lakers are 1-5 since LeBron got hurt. LeBron is the king. LeBron is the best player in the NBA, and he finally showed that he was human and can be injured. He's been drinking wine on the sideline, and he had a show come out. Mogul stage. The Lakers are a bad team without LeBron, so anyone saying the Lakers are a good team and questioning if LeBron should be the MVP, look at their record without him and what he's transformed that team into already. All right, well, it was a good first episode. Episode 31's over. This episode was brought to you by Freight Saver for any of your shipping needs, whether it be LTL, FTL, expedited air freight, or whatever it may be. Go to freightsaver.com, FREIGHTSAVER.com, and get a quote today and get your shipping done simply and easily. Anyways, let's go through the followers and things to follow. Follow me at Chris_Renne on Twitter, at ChrisRenne5 on Instagram. Follow the page for Mom's Basement Productions and Basement Prod on both Twitter and Instagram. And also follow Pints at the Round Table 1 and look for both shows coming out this week. I will be posting this one probably as soon as I'm done, and I will be sending it out today and tomorrow probably. So anyways, thanks for listening, everybody. Hopefully we keep getting better. Hopefully I get some nice, fun interviews for you throughout the year. We'll see. Anyways, good talking to you guys. Hopefully you like the show, and be ready to comment fan topic stuff. Like us on Facebook, and I will see you all next Tuesday. Adios from the Mom's Basement Studios in Columbus. This is your host once again, Chris Renne. BTW. Peace out.